The engines hadn't roared yet, the street was too still, the kind of stillness that comes before a storm. The afternoon sun hung pale and weak above rows of cookie-cutter houses, each one wrapped in the hush of weekend quiet. A paper rustled down the road. Somewhere, a dog barked once, then fell silent again. Ryder Hail stood with his hands resting on the grips of his Harley, cigarette burning low between his fingers. The smell of oil, leather, and sun-baked asphalt filled the air. Around him, 5 other bikes gleamed like sleeping beasts, chrome winking in the light. His brothers leaned against them, waiting, restless men with faces hardened by wind and miles that they'd come here for nothing more than an afternoon beer run. But the world, Ryder knew, had a cruel way of changing its plans. That's when he saw the boy, small, trembling, standing on the edge of the sidewalk as though afraid to cross into their world. The kid couldn't have been more than 8 or 9, gray hoodie too big, sneakers caked in dust, cheeks streaked with tears. He looked lost in every way a person could be. For a moment, Ryder thought the kid might be staring at the bikes in awe, like any boy might. But then he noticed the trembling hands, the raw fear in his eyes, something twisted in Ryder's chest, something he hadn't felt in years. That he took a slow drag on the cigarette, exhaled, and flicked the butt away. Then he knelt. The movement was slow, deliberate, a man lowering himself from a life of steel and scars down to a child's eye level. "What's wrong, kid?" Ryder asked, voice rough as gravel. The boy hesitated, his lips quivering. When he finally spoke, his voice cracked. They took my sister." The words hit harder than any punch Ryder had ever taken. Behind him, the other bikers shifted. Their laughter faded, boots scuffing the pavement as silence wrapped around them like fog. The quiet of the street became something else now, not peaceful, but tense, electric. Ryder looked into the boy's eyes. Tears glistened there, clinging to lashes too young to have seen this kind of pain. And in those eyes, Ryder saw something that dragged him backward. Years ago, another child, another helpless moment he could never erase. That he swallowed hard. "Start from the beginning." The boy sniffed, trying to speak between breaths. "Her name's Mara. She's 12. We were playing at the park near Elm Street. A black van stopped, 2 men came out. I thought they were asking for directions." His voice broke again. "They grabbed her. She screamed. I ran after them until I couldn't breathe." Ryder's fists clenched. The boy, Evan, he'd later learn, wiped his face with the sleeve of his hoodie. "No one helped. Nobody stopped. I tried calling the police, but," he trailed off, his voice barely a whisper. "I didn't know what else to do. I saw your bikes, and I thought, maybe you could help." Ryder rose slowly, towering over the boy but gentler now, like a man afraid to break something fragile. Behind him, his brothers watched, saying nothing. They didn't need to. Every one of them had seen it, the shift in Ryder's stance, the way his jaw set like a closing gate. He turned toward them. "We ride." That was all he said, and that was all it took. In seconds, the still street came alive. Engines roared like thunder rolling down a valley. Leather creaked. Boots scraped. The air filled with smoke, dust, and power. Ryder lifted the boy onto his bike, strapping him in tight with practiced hands. "Hold on," he said. When the engines screamed in unison, every curtain on the street fluttered open. Faces appeared in windows, fear, awe, disbelief. Mothers pulled their kids closer, gardeners froze mid-trim, and somewhere, someone whispered, "The angels are flying again." They tore through the streets like a storm, 6 riders cutting through sunlight and traffic, their shadows long and fierce. Ryder's heart pounded in rhythm with the engine, each thump matching the echo of Evan's words. "They took my sister." He'd heard cries like that before, on different streets, from different mouths, but this one cut deeper. Maybe because the kid had come to him, a man the world didn't trust, looking for help when no one else would listen. Vince, his old contact, picked up on the first ring. "Ryder. What's up?" I need eyes on Route 9, Ryder growled. Black van. 2 men. Kidnapping. There was a pause. Give me 5 minutes. It only took 3, Vince said. Gas station camera caught a match heading toward the old docks. Ryder knew that place too well, warehouses, rusting fences, and shadows that never really left. When the bikes reached the docks, the engines cut out one by one, the sudden silence sharp enough to make hearts skip. The van was there, black, dusty, back doors cracked open. A faint sound leaked out. A muffled cry. Ryder felt his blood turn cold. He raised his hand, signaling the formation. They moved like ghosts, silent, precise, decades of instinct guiding them. 1 brother covered the back, 2 flanked the sides. Ryder stepped forward, the gravel crunching under his boots. A man appeared from behind the van, tall, wary, cocky in the way only someone evil can be. He opened his mouth to speak, but never got the chance. One of Ryder's men grabbed him by the collar and slammed him against the van. Where's the girl? Ryder asked. The man's eyes flicked toward the back. That was all Ryder needed. He yanked the doors open. Inside, a little girl sat bound and trembling, eyes wide, hair tangled, wrists red from rope. She blinked at him, this giant in leather and tattoos, face lined by a life she couldn't understand, and for a second, fear flashed across her face. Ryder's voice softened. You're safe now, sweetheart. He cut her loose, his big hands moving with care, every motion deliberate. She didn't move at first, just stared, disbelief melting into relief. Then she saw her brother. Evan. The boy ran past Ryder, throwing himself into her arms. She clung to him, sobbing into his shoulder. Ryder turned away, jaw tight, blinking back something that wasn't sweat. Around them, the other bikers stood in silence. Men who'd spent their lives breaking rules and bones now stood humbled by the simplest act of good. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the sirens began to wail in the distance. When the police arrived, Ryder and his crew didn't argue or boast. They simply stepped aside, hands raised, letting the officers handle what came next. The cops looked wary. Men like Ryder were usually the problem, not the solution, but the truth hung heavy in the air. The Hells Angels had saved 2 kids today. Ryder watched as the mother arrived, breathless, tears streaming, collapsing around her children. She looked up at him once, just once, and mouthed, "Thank you." He nodded, nothing more. The engines roared again. The angels mounted up, and one by one, they disappeared down the road, leaving only the echo of thunder and the faint smell of oil behind. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Ryder parked his bike in its place beside the others. The men sat in silence, no cheers, no drinks, no bragging. Just the steady hum of cooling metal. He leaned back, closing his eyes. The boy's voice echoed in his mind. They took my sister. For once, the world had given him a fight worth winning. He smiled faintly, a small, quiet thing that belonged only to men who knew they'd done something right. And maybe, Ryder thought, kindness didn't always look like church bells or smiles. Sometimes it looked like 6 bikes, roaring through the heat, chasing down the kind of evil that preyed on the weak. That day, the Hells Angels didn't wait for permission. They didn't ask for headlines. They just rode, for a boy's whisper, for a sister's tears, for a world that had forgotten what it meant to care without question. And as their engines faded into the distance, the city was reminded of something powerful, something simple and true. Kindness doesn't always wear a halo. Sometimes, it wears leather.